They say be careful what you wish for. I wished for something new, something freeing. But I never imagined that in opening the door, I'd be the one left outside. I asked for freedom, but I never imagined it would cost me the one person I couldn't bear to lose. We were having dinner on the balcony of our small apartment in Annecy when I decided to say it. The evening breeze grazed my skin gently, but inside, I felt as if something was being torn apart. Nathan sat across from me, his face as calm and serene as always. His brown eyes were fixed on the quiet city below, softly lit by the street lamps. I stared at my plate, then looked up. I need to talk to you. Nathan turned his head, still smiling. I wanted to reach out, to undo what I was about to say. But my mouth moved on its own. I want us to try an open relationship. The clinking of cutlery fell silent. The breeze seemed to pause, though perhaps that was just in my mind. Nathan looked at me for a long moment, as if trying to translate a foreign language. Why? He asked quietly. I explained it all. The stagnation, the craving for something new. How we felt more like companions than lovers. He didn't get angry. That was what hurt most. He simply nodded and said, if that's what you truly feel is best, I'll try to understand. After dinner, I sat alone on the balcony. The chill deepened, but I didn't care. My mind raced with doubt. Was this truly the right decision? I wrapped my fingers around a teacup that had gone cold. Nathan said very little that night. When he closed the bedroom door, his footsteps sounded heavy. I wanted to call his name, but the words stuck in my throat. I simply stared at the stars, searching for an answer in the sky. The next morning, we had breakfast together. We smiled, spoke of nothing. It felt like we were playing parts in a play without an audience. Later that day, I walked along the canal. The water flowed gently, unbothered by my turmoil. I sat on the bench we used to frequent, surrounded by echoes of laughter that no longer belonged to us. I opened my journal and wrote, about guilt unspoken, about doubts louder than reason, about how I still loved Nathan, but somehow felt trapped within a love that no longer made me feel alive. As the sun dipped below the rooftops, I returned home. Nathan was reading on the sofa. I sat beside him. Neither of us said a word. But that silence rang louder than anything else. I closed my eyes and wondered, is this the beginning of freedom, or the start of the end? 3 days passed after that conversation. I returned to the park, the one by the canal I usually went to when I needed space to think. That was when I saw him, a stranger, seated on the far end of the bench. He wore a leather jacket and a thin scarf, his hair dark and his expression quietly observant. Adrien. He noticed me and gave a small nod. If you'd prefer to be alone, I can move. I shook my head. No, it's fine. Normally, I wouldn't speak so easily to someone unfamiliar. But there was something in him that felt known. We sat in silence for a while before we started chatting. The weather, books, trivial things. He had a lightness to him, as if nothing in the world truly weighed him down. But I suspected that was a front. Perhaps, like me, he was hiding something. I returned to the park over the next few days. Adrien was always there, as though waiting. One evening, he brought 2 cups of coffee. I thought you liked it black, he said, handing one to me. I laughed softly. Lucky guess. He shrugged. Good instincts. We spoke until the street lights flickered on. And then, between the laughter and the comfort, he reached for my hand. I didn't pull away. That night, when I returned home, Nathan wasn't there. A note on the table read, "Don't wait up, having dinner with a friend." I stared at it for a long time. And for the first time, I realized, the very thing I had opened, was already out of my hands. The next day, I came home early. Nathan was already there, seated on the sofa with a soft smile playing on his lips. A smile I hadn't seen in months. I closed the door behind me quietly, and he turned. "You look happy," I said, shrugging off my coat. He nodded. "I had a good chat today." He hesitated just a moment, then said it. "Sophie." The name rolled out of his mouth easily. I forced a smile, though something inside me sank. "You two get along well?" I asked. He looked up. "I'm not sure. But she's open, honest, easy to talk to." I knew that wasn't just a compliment. It was a comparison. I nodded, pretending not to notice. That night, I went back to the park. Adrien was waiting, but I couldn't focus. My head was filled with images of Nathan smiling at someone else. Adrien reached for my hand. "You seem distant tonight." "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I'm just trying to understand myself." We sat together until night fell. And when I returned, Nathan was already asleep. On his phone screen, a picture had been left open, him and Sophie at a cafe, smiling. I closed the door without a word, curled into the sheets, and cried where he wouldn't hear. The days that followed were cold in a way that had nothing to do with weather. Nathan and I shared space, shared meals, shared air, but not hearts. I tried. I cooked his favorites. I left him notes. But nothing reached him. His thank you was always polite, always distant. One evening, I woke up to hear hushed laughter from the living room. I crept to the door and peered out. Nathan was on his phone, smiling into the glow of the screen. Sophie's name popped up in my mind before I even looked. I didn't confront him. I couldn't. I returned to bed and tried to sleep through the ache. In the morning, I stared at myself in the mirror. Tired eyes, pale skin, lips that hadn't been kissed in weeks. I whispered my own name, as if reminding myself who I was. Adrien messaged. I didn't reply. It was a quiet afternoon when it happened. Nathan had left his phone on the table. A message from Sophie lit up the screen. I didn't mean to look, I just reacted. They were laughing. Her hand near his. His gaze, no longer mine. More photos. The two of them, side by side. Comfortable. Close. I collapsed onto the sofa, hands trembling. When Nathan came out of the bathroom, I stood and went straight to our room. He called out. I said nothing. Later, Adrien and I walked along the lake. He held my hand. I felt nothing. Do you regret it? He asked. Not you, I whispered. Everything. We didn't fight. We didn't shout. We simply faded. Like colors left in the sun too long. I heard him crying in the bathroom one night. When he emerged, he looked calm. But I saw the red in his eyes. You're not asleep? He asked. Not yet. He nodded, then walked away. I wanted to follow. To say, come back. But my mouth wouldn't move. I saw them. Together. Laughing at a cafe, arms close, sharing pastries and soft smiles. I stood across the road, hidden behind a florist's wall. My breath caught in my throat. My hands trembled. When they left, I sat at the table they'd used. Her perfume still hung in the air. At home, Nathan greeted me. I walked past him. My throat ached, but I stayed silent. That night, I journaled for hours. About the pain of watching someone fall in love again, right in front of you. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding Nathan's hand. I can't do this anymore. He looked at me. I know, but I don't know how to fix it either. I'm sorry. He embraced me. It felt warm, but hollow. And I knew, this was our last night as husband and wife. Rain pattered gently. I stood in the kitchen, watching him sip coffee. Nathan, if I stopped everything, Adrien, the idea, everything, could we go back? He didn't look up. I believe you want to, but I don't think we can. I begged him, but he said nothing. And somehow, that silence hurt more than if he'd shouted. Annecy is still beautiful. The canal still flows. The sky still turns golden in the evenings. But Nathan is gone. He moved out a week later. Said he needed space. Adrien is gone too. We were never meant to last. Now it's just me. My writing. My memories. I sometimes imagine Nathan walking through the door. But it's always the wind. And in its whisper, I hear the truth. Love is not just the courage to open, but the strength to let go. Our story didn't end with fire or fury. It ended in silence. And perhaps, that's the cruelest kind of goodbye. In the end, it wasn't betrayal that broke us. It was silence. And the quiet truth that sometimes, Love is not lost in a moment, but in all the moments we stopped choosing each other.